Hello, 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 beautiful unicorns. Welcome back to our weekly live podcast, Heal the Unicorn, that Anna and I live stream into our Facebook group called Heal the Unicorn Emotional Healing and Spiritual Growth for Women. So if you're not part of this fast growing community of like minded women who are doing everything in their power to heal themselves and continue growing and evolving and as the spiritual self, then come and check out this community and see if it is the place that you can call home. And as always, your loyal hosts, Anna Angelova.
Hey everyone, hi Yana. Happy to see you on this Wednesday before the big snowstorm coming here in the
Right.
GTA. I'm Anna Angelova, an energy leadership coach with Empath Unicorn Academy, where we help women create a life of abundance, become the unicorns that they're meant to be.
Awesome. Great intro. And myself, Yana Kasperczak, your certified professional performance and spiritual awakening core energy coach. And it has been my soul's purpose to help women, to help you get your shit together so you can break free from that mental prison you find yourself in, build a life, a business, and or a career you are obsessed with. So to help you navigate your healing and your spiritual awakening and your growth of the spirit, the soul that is you, within what I refer to as the meat suit. That's where the real you is inside. The topic that we have for you today is the dark night of the soul. We're going to talk about what it is and how to navigate it. And this part is the biggest telltale of your soul and the spirit that is you beginning to awaken. And we'll talk about it in many different ways to help you understand and meet you where you are as you are awakening, as you are awakening to what was and what is, and perhaps struggling to see what could be. And what could be is not necessarily dependent on what was or what is. It's not a prediction, it's just the past. So, the way that I would start it is simply put, the dark night of the soul, many people would refer to it as rock bottom. When you hit rock bottom, when this you go through this immense period of spiritual, emotional, and psychological um, unraveling. It's when it's when you begin to realize and recognize or feel that everything that you once believed, everything that you once identified with, or everything that you found comfort in doesn't make sense or begins to fall apart or it feels wrong or it feels like another way to put it, it's like you feel like you woke up from a dream, that the first part of your life that you were just somehow getting through and living through like a zombie. Another way to explain it's like, those moments, those times, which could be potentially dangerous, but where you're driving from point A to point Z, wherever you're going to, and then there's periods of when you were driving that it's almost like you don't remember driving there, that you don't know how you got there. This is what begins to happen during this dark night of the soul when you are awakening, that you almost like wake up to, how the heck did I get here? How did I drive from A to F with your eyes closed and not knowing how you got here? How or why is everything the way that it is? You begin to question everything. It's almost like you're feeling it's like you woke up in the middle of the forest and you don't know how you got there. And you don't even know how to get back. You're feeling lost. You're feeling confused. You're feeling disconnected. And the most interesting part of this awakening is that this is where you really understand and begin to understand that you're not sure who you are. You don't know who you are. You awaken to your true self, recognizing that you lost your sense of identity and you don't even know how or why. And yet you do when you start beginning or start and or begin going down this amazingly powerful rabbit hole. So that's how I would start. Anna, let us hear how you would start talking about this topic of the dark night of the soul, of what it is, and how to work through, how to get out of it.
Yeah, it was a very good start. What you mentioned, like absolutely everything you mentioned, it's spot on. One of the things actually that, as I was preparing for today, one of the things that I didn't know about the Dark Night of the Soul was that it's actually a term that comes based on what I found on the internet. That it's a term that was coined in 16th century, I think, by a Spanish like not saint, but I don't know, like
Mhm.
yeah, saint, I think Saint John or something like this, Saint John of the Cross, which is an interesting factoid. Mm, and what you were saying is that a lot of us actually, like, we are basically walking um, like asleep in a way. Like, and this is actually when you think about the spiritual awakening journey, it actually starts with this what you were saying as well, like this stage where um, we're not awake, right? Like we're asleep. We don't even realize what's going on, and then uh, something happens, right? Like something happens that starts like I don't want to call say triggers us, but like kind of in a way it's a triggering event. Like it's something
Yeah.
that happens that creates that void, that emptiness, and like you said, like asking who you are, what's your purpose. And I know that for some people it can be something like usually it's something like a huge thing, right? Like it's something that's like a really um, major, like a major kind of event happening. Like it
Yeah,
can
like a
be
trauma
a
also.
trauma, exactly. It can be a trauma, like a loved one dying, some kind of a serious illness, right? Like all these kind of things that are even losing your job and financial problems, things like this. Like
Yeah, that's trauma for all of us.
exactly, all these kind of things. Now, one thing that like I've always been thinking about this, like think about the Dark Night of the Soul. Does it have to be that deep, right? Like, does it really have to be? Because, like, if we think about the trauma, like that kind of trauma, it does leave a mark, and it is definitely the spot where a lot of people start questioning what's the purpose of it all, and people who have experienced these kind of things, a lot of the women in our community as well, right? This was when their own journey into spiritual awakening started. Now, when I'm thinking about my own journey, um, I don't see a certain event that triggered it, right? A certain event. It's just that at some point, it's like, okay, what's my purpose? Like, this thing doesn't make sense. What's going on, like the daily life doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
Uh, and I know that some of the ways that it shows up is feeling like you don't belong, like no one understands what's going on, and um, finding like emptiness in things that before you thought, oh, did this had meaning. Now it's like it doesn't bring any kind of joy. Um,
Mhm.
so while like this stage again, it can be triggered and it can happen because of something big for me personally, and there are others who go through the dark night of the soul, but at a I don't want to call it not deep level, but in a way it's not. It's like because you still question. Like I still question things. I was still
Yeah.
feeling in a way even confused at sometimes, right? Like why are we doing this? What is the purpose of this? All these things and um what's interesting is that it's a time when uh, sometimes you even question if the whole thing has a meaning at all, right? Like if there is any meaning in the whole thing at all, like you question like everything, like even spirituality itself, and don't realize that it's actually the beginning of the spiritual awakening process. That it's actually a sign that you are stepping into your path. Um, so it's like a it's not the best place to be in, definitely, but it's a sign that you are actually starting to awaken. You're actually starting to awaken, and whether it's some kind of sadness or some kind of even anxiety, right? Whether it's all these feelings that we don't like, right? The level one, the heavy level one emotions. And when you think about the dark night of the soul, for me, it's a lot of it is like it puts it in level one. Um, and it puts us into level one, into those kind of thinking where like, who am I and why am I even trying to do these kind of things? What the purpose of it all? So in a way, for these two, like in my view, world view, they are connected. But one thing I actually wanted to bring, because if you think about level one, right? Like one thing with level one energy is that it's it's okay to experience level one energy, right? Like it's level one energy is part of our world, part of experiencing life, like the sadness, the worry, even anxiety, like they are part. But one thing even when we were going through the coaching training, I don't know if you remember, but one of the things that we were talking about is uh, that level one uh, actually can get into depression,
Yes.
right? So one thing actually, and I'm thinking that with the Dark Night of the Soul, it's good to know that um, while the two like share similarities, like there are differences as well. So the Dark Night of the Soul, level one is not depression. It's spiritual awakening, like, and it starts in a way with a crisis, and it's questioning, like, who am I? The purpose. These are all existential questions, right? Like, what's the purpose of life? And yes, there is that loss of identity sometimes, questioning your beliefs, and these things don't make sense. But it leads, like the dark night of the soul as an experience, like it leads to breakthrough. Like
Mhm.
it leads to it's the first step in the spiritual awakening journey. And on the other side, like depression, it's more uh, biological, like it's more, and therapy, medication, even it's what's used for depression, right? And it's more persistent, like the sadness, the lack of motivation, and the thing is that probably the biggest thing that can be a differentiator is the questioning. This as existential questioning when you think about it. Because if you find yourself asking, what's the purpose of it all? Who am I? Like if you find yourself asking these questions, it's most likely Dark Night of the Soul. Uh, However, like, I want to also caution you that, not caution you, but ultimately mention that like depression is a serious thing, whether it's postpartum, Yana, like you've gone through this yourself. It's a serious thing. So if you are experiencing any kind of emotional distress, uh, seeking professional help, like with therapists, is encouraged actually. Like it's something that it's good to do. Like there's no shame into seeking professional help, just to make sure that things are okay, because like as I said, like depression is serious and it's something that should be taken seriously. And I know we don't really talk about it because we are not therapists, but I just wanted to bring it up because of the way how like level one and the dark night of the soul, they kind of like border depression. And
Mhm.
it's good to know that you are not depressed, you're actually going through the dark night of the soul. Um, so yeah, I think these are the things that I wanted to add, like as we are starting the conversation of what it is. And the interesting factoid about it, that according to the internet, the phrase itself comes from Saint John or something like this from the 16th century.
Mhm. Yeah, no, that's definitely interesting that this phrase has been around for a long time. That means that they knew something even back then. And, it's interesting that you also bring up level one and depression and then the spiritual awakening or the dark night of the soul as that, as we know it. And I mean, we can have a whole entire conversation just on these things I just mentioned, but I'll keep it short because there's different types of depressions. It's not just one size fits all. And I also like to look at words in and kind of like dissect the words and see what the word actually means. And when we dissect the word depressed, it's deep rest. And it's deep rest that your body needs in order for your soul to catch up to what the hell did we just go through in this first part of our life when you begin your awakening. And this is often where you can find yourself having signs of depression and you go to a doctor, and in my experience I went to a doctor and here's a pill for you, here's a pill for you, here's a pill for this, for this, for that, can't sleep, here's a pill for you, instead of really listening and understanding what I was actually going through. And what I was going through was the dark night of the soul. It was literally questioning everything like, what is the purpose of all this? Why am I going through this? Why am I here? Like, why did we lose the twins? Why was my daughter born a month early? What's wrong with me? Why am I such a piece of shit or failure, right? Why is my son born a month early? Why did I get in a car accident 2 months before our son was born? Why did I get demoted at a job what was it, a month before our son was born as well? Like, why is all these things happening? And of course these things add up, add up, add up, right? We go through one little trauma, another little trauma, another little trauma, and it just adds up over a lifetime. And then something happens that sometimes we know what it is, and sometimes, like Anna, you said in your case, it's like you can't pinpoint exactly what it was that gets you to this place in your life when you're questioning things and even questioning just reality itself. And it's like, am I in a video game? Is any of this real? They tell me I can't fly, but can I? You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. And I love what you're saying, because like the biggest thing is questioning. Like when you know that, like when you realize that you're having these questions, means you're at the beginning of an awakening journey. Like when you have these questions, it's
mhm,
really uh the and that's why like, I love that like we're having this conversation, because if you are not questioning this and you are actually experiencing like the sadness, the anxiety, the emptiness and disconnection without questioning, then this might actually be a
mhm.
sign of depression. Like and again, it's a serious thing that needs to be taken care of and like
Yeah. But I
um,
experienced all those things that you just mentioned, and yet I was still questioning. I was empty. I was
oh yeah, yeah.
lonely. I,
This is the main point that
mhm.
they have a lot of similarities. And for me, the biggest difference is that when you're going through the spiritual awakening journey, the difference is that you're questioning. Uh, with the depression, like the pure depression, uh, that questioning thing of who am I, what's my purpose, it's not there.
Yeah, but I also noticed when I was put on meds,
Oh, they know. Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
then all
yeah,
the questioning stopped, all those things stopped because I was just literally I became a zombie where I would wake up and it was do this, do this, do this, do that.
yeah, yeah.
Sleep, do
They
this,
know.
do this,
Yeah,
do
yeah.
that.
True,
Right?
true.
So this is where that's why in my experience and actually quite a few women that I've talked with and I work with, this was also their experience that were put on meds is that they were questioning. You go to a doctor, oh, here's a pill that's going to help you because this is what you have. Because, you know, the way that I see it is that who benefits from us waking up, really truly waking up to our full potential?
Potential. Yeah, yeah. That's
We
true. That's
do.
true.
Nobody else does.
That's why it's good to know that if you are questioning, if you have
Yeah.
all these questions, it's spiritual awakening. It's spiritual awakening, and we'll cover how to deal with not deal with this, but how to go through this process because it's
Mhm.
not about dealing with it. It's going through this process. It's about actually surrendering to the process and going through it, as painful as it might be to experience some of these things.
Mhm.
So yeah, absolutely. If you're questioning this, it's probably a sign that it's actually spiritual awakening. So go work on your spiritual journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And when you were talking about levels, right? Levels
Yeah,
of
level one. Yeah, yeah,
awakening. I could sense there was some hesitation because it's like, are there levels? Are there not? There are definitely levels with it because it's it doesn't just happen like this overnight over
yeah,
one little experience. It's one experience, you wake up a little bit, you start questioning a little bit, but your default program is still there that says, shh, we don't ask why because we're good girls. We do as we're told. We don't
yeah,
ask questions, right? We ignore, we pretend, and we get, move past it, not through it. And then something else happens. And then the shushing, little by little, becomes quieter to a point where you can no longer shush that inner voice because it's constantly asking you questions and you are struggling to answer them because there's shame, there's guilt, there's embarrassment, there is I'm not good enough. There's a lot of feeling badness that comes through where you just we ignore it, we don't give that energy, we pretend that it doesn't exist. Um, so it's a gradual process. And the interesting part also is that not every single human being actually gets to go through spiritual awakening, the dark night of the soul. Not every single human being.
oh
There's
yeah,
some
yeah,
people who just will continue sleeping through life and going about their life as the default program as they are.
yeah. They are, and there are people who actually souls who are already they don't even need to go through this part with the dark night of the soul because like they've gone through it already and like they coming back they're already resonating at that higher level
Yeah.
so yeah, absolutely, there are people who in this lifetime they will keep on being asleep.
Yeah.
That's true, that's
Yeah.
true.
And that's where it's like when because I wrote down where you were talking, it's like uh we're sleeping, right? We're going through life sleeping. And what happens is that we're running on or through our default program that we received. And then we wake up and become conscious more and more each day, conscious and aware of the default program that we now begin to question, that has dictated most of our life, that has created the life that we have now. And this is where now we begin to change and reprogram ourselves through those 5% of the day when we are conscious. And at the same time, we can do that when we're not conscious as well, when we're even sleeping. Um, yeah, so I think I mentioned that. Shadow work, that's another best way that I can put it into straightforward, one short little sentence of what you're going to be doing when the dark night of the soul is here and essentially your spirit is awakening. You're going to be doing a lot of shadow work and healing your inner child. That's really what it comes down to. And this is where you're going to be reprogramming your default program, understanding it and reprogramming it. And some of the programming that you have, you don't necessarily need to go deep dive into that place, because by you spending so much time there, you're bringing it into the now and then you bring it into the future where you focus on growth. So if you're focusing on what was, then what was will be in the now and will be in the future, because you're going to be bringing that into the future. You're breathing life into it and it's going to be that way. But that's why it's important to, if you spend some time there, it's only a little bit of time there just to understand enough to then uncover what can be, what will be, learn from it, and change and um, take new steps and new approaches. And the dark night of the soul is not just it's not just a bad day or a rough season. It's a deep soul level transformation. It's beyond the physical level, even though your physical body is screaming at you, telling you all this trauma you have trapped within it because of that default program that told you don't listen to it, ignore it, just get past it. You don't feel good, just, just ignore it, just think positive, as the black and white way of looking at things. Whereas that type of approach is the very thing that got us all to that place of the soul awakening where the body can no longer play this game of charades, and it's now is tired and exhausted and needs deep rest. So that way you can rest physically and have the ability and opportunity to go deep within and understand this program that has been keeping you trapped when you didn't even know you were trapped. You didn't even know that you were locked in this prison because you didn't know any other way. And now that you know, you can't unknow, right? And often what happens is life forces you to confront your fears. It forces you to confront your illusions, because your illusion of what life was is not what life is. And the wounds that you have carried within you, those traumas, you can no longer ignore it. You can't. And this is where you begin to feel disconnected from life or from your purpose and from existence, even from family. You can feel isolated, lonely, um, relationships maybe that you have, whether it's love relationships or friend relationships or family, it they also change and evolve where maybe there's no more meaning in them or you don't understand them. You feel lost in them, loss of identity, loss of self, meaning of life, and questioning your beliefs, um, questioning yourself, questioning your values, questioning the purpose. And all of those things naturally come with an overwhelming, and again, this is a spectrum. It's not just one size fits all, right? There's different levels, but often at the deepest level you might experience an overwhelming sense of isolation, even when you're with people. Um, I remember even questioning, am I just a mom? Like, what is my purpose? What am I supposed to be doing? And feeling like it's almost like I could see and feel all the humans and this planet, but I still felt like I did not belong. And looking up at the sky and looking up at the stars, that's where I felt like I belonged, right? And it's emotional because I can bring this is right here is proof of how when we look at our past, how we can bring it right here in the now. Because I remember sitting in my house just looking out at the sky day or night and feeling like that's where I'm supposed to be, not here. No one gets me, no one understands me, no one cares. Of course, that's not true, and at the same time it is. Because the reality is, if we can't even fully understand ourselves, how can we expect anyone else to? And this is what the dark night of the soul is. It's our opportunity to get to know ourselves so we don't leave this life not knowing the most important person in our life, in our world, which is ourselves. And the reality is, no one else can ever really truly know us. And it would be such a shame to not spend our life getting to know ourselves. So, this overwhelming sense of isolation, to me, it was very overwhelming. It even stopped me in my tracks going up the stairs with this cr- crashing realization of is is this all that's ever going to be? Can life ever get better than this? When am I supposed to be doing it? I'm not just a mom. I don't belong here. No one gets me. No one understands me. I know I'm made out of stardust, but so are we all. But why is everybody else happy and I'm not? What's wrong with me? And that was just the beginning because what feels like the end is often just the beginning. And to me, that felt like the end. I felt like I was dying, like dead. And and I wasn't because I was just beginning to wake up. And then what I stopped doing is I stopped ignoring my own questions. Instead, I started answering them. If I have a question, there is an answer for it. If I don't know the answer, I'm gonna find it. One way or another, I'm gonna find the answer. And that is one of the things that we're meant to do when we are going through the dark night of the soul. This is an experience. While it's painful, it is not a punishment, even though it can feel like a punishment. It is an awakening. It it strips away the false layers of the conditioning, of the programming, of the fear, of the ego. And that one is one of the hardest ones to shed layers off. And it sheds the ego to reveal who we truly are beneath all of those things. Now, the signs that you're going through it, we already covered quite a few of them. Um, I can't think of any other ones to cover aside. I think we already talked about being disconnected from yourself, from others. Your emotions are heightened. Like you can find yourself just watching the same movie you watched many times, but now you feel that movie, you feel the emotion, and you're crying with it. You become empathetic, more empathetic than you were before. You really begin to understand the side of you that is empath. Um, and you feel like you, in some ways or many ways, outgrow parts of your life. But also the fear of not knowing what's next. So that's where I would start. And as for navigating or, how to work through it is you are already asking questions. Answer them. If you don't have the answer, find the answer. A question cannot exist without at least one answer to it. It's as simple and as factual as that. If there's a problem, there's at least one solution. And there are many tools that you can use that will help you to answer that. Now, you can just think those things in your head. Now, for me, that's not the tool that works best for me because I get easily distracted and I keep hopping from one train of thought to another, and I'm just like jumping trains, and then I forgot what train I was on originally. So initially, it was writing things down in a journal, and you'll be surprised of what comes through when you're journaling. And then it was doing live videos, and I was recording myself for myself, whether it's a video form or an audio form, having a conversation. Working with the coach was one of the best ways that helped me to learn how to surrender to the process and answer those questions. Right? Yeah, I know I have that rock as well somewhere. I put it somewhere here. I didn't want to reach for it, but that's the rock that we got from IPEC coach training that showed us that if there's a problem, there's always a solution on the other side, at least one solution. Um, so I know I've been talking for a little bit, and I can definitely keep talking. I can give all of the how-tos, but I want to give Anna the opportunity to share some of these how-tos, and I'll just add a little bit if there is any need to add on top of what Anna already is going to share.
Yeah, thanks, Yana. No, what you shared actually, like especially coming from your own experience, like it's so valuable. And we mentioned it a few times already. Like this is a process, and um, I know that surrendering sounds like, oh, I'm giving up in a way, but it's not. It's not. Like, and this is so. Just by realizing that you're going through this journey, just by realizing that, oh, it's the dark night of the soul, this is awareness, and then acceptance, right? Like it is part of the process. Like fighting it, it's like swimming against the current.
Mhm.
What you do is you actually, if you have the current going like this way, what you do is you actually swim this way so you can get out of it and come back to the shore. Um, so the biggest part is that it's okay for you to be going through this. Is it hard? Of course, it's hard. Feeling lost and questioning yourself and that isolation, Yana, you were talking about, like feeling like no one understands you. It's and what's wrong with me? It feels lonely. It feels lonely, and that's okay. And allow yourself to experience it. Allow yourself to for the questions to come to the surface. And I loved what you said about like if there are questions, there are answers. And instead of trying to shove the questions under the rug and pretend they don't exist, curiosity. And this is a little bit tapping into level 5, but why not, right? Why not? Even going through the dark night of the soul, you can still tap into level 5 and be curious. Okay, like what beliefs are not serving me anymore, right? What's going on? Like what is really my purpose? What is this trying to tell me? Like all these kind of questions. And you already mentioned shadow work, like doing that hard work of letting go. And there's so much power, and I think we talked about it in one of the episodes as well, previous episodes as well. There's so much power in just being and allowing your thoughts, allowing your feelings to just be, to just experience it and see what happens without judgment, without fear. Like just let it be, let it come out. And like you said, for some people journaling is helpful, right? Like writing things down might be helpful. Just let your thoughts out. uh, visualization or meditation, of course. Like these are all things that, like whether you're going through the dark night of the soul or like at the other stages of the spiritual awakening, like these are techniques that and tools in our tool belt, right? That we can use at any time for anything. Like they're so powerful. And one of the things that I personally find very um, useful and something that I've mentioned before as well, like for me, it's understanding what's going on. Like I really need to understand. Like I have that curiosity to understand more about it and see what I can do, what it means, and all these kind of things. And for me, this is books, like really diving into some of the classics, like The Power of Now, right? From Eckhart Tolle. Uh, uh, this is one that comes to my mind. Now I'm even curious to see what the Dark Night of the Soul by this son Saint John is, to see what he's talking about. So there is a lot of information out there, and Yana, you already mentioned, like if you have a question, go and find the answer. What's going on? And the answer can be like for different people, it comes in different ways. I'm listening again to uh, Uncovering the Life of Your Dreams by Bruce Snyder and like lucid dreaming, right? Answer like ask a question and get the answer in your dreams, and researching things. There are a lot of like we have these conversations here. If you have a question actually and ask it in the group, like there are now over 1,200 women in the group, and uh, there will be women who'll be able to share their own experience and help you figure out what the answer is for you, like who would depending on what questions you have. So I highly actually encourage you, if you want to use the power of this community, go ahead, post a question and let's figure this one together. Like let's figure this one out together. And like the hardest thing is going through it. But then the best thing about it is that it's not permanent. Like this darkness is not permanent. The sun is coming out the next day, right? So um, it's an experience that makes us stronger, and it really helps us attune ourselves to like what really matters, the values, the beliefs that not the programming, right? Like not the things that we were forced to believe, but really, really understand who we truly are. Um, so taking the time to even be by yourself, right? Like it's so, so powerful. Just be by yourself and like let yourself be still and whatever. If walking in the outside works for you, not on in -15 when it's about to snow 40 centimeters of snow, but
Mhm.
uh, if you're somewhere in Florida, go like walking on the beach or something. Whatever it means for you to be by yourself and let go, like to just be. Um, I remember, like for me personally, um, just sitting. Like we used to have go to a village next to Sofia. We used to go to a village, and I love just sitting there. Like we had a terrace and just under a walnut tree, just sitting there and listening to the sounds of nature, like the birds and the crickets and just being there. We were just at the end of the village, so like you could just feel see the fields and the mountain in the distance. Um, and I also, at some point, I was also writing a lot of poetry as well. Like this was one outlet for me to process things and get things out. Um, and music has also been, although I find that sometimes music uh, just helps with the mood, like it doesn't really help me. Like it didn't um, lead me to a path where I stayed with the questions and I try to answer the questions. It was more of kind of uplifting me and things like this. So, but whatever works, right?
Mhm.
Whatever works to help with answering the questions and stepping out of this first, like getting out of this first. I don't actually. It's not well. It's the let's call it the first chapter of the spiritual awakening journey, because what you were saying, Yana, how it feels like an end. Yeah, it is an end, but it's also a beginning, like the beginning to the new chapter, a beginning to, if you want to even call it a new book, if you want to call it the transformation. Like I know we've used this one before, but it's a really powerful transformation when you think about butterflies, right? Like how they become butterflies, um, like that slimy thingy that gets into the cocoon and turns into a butterfly.
Mhm.
Um, so uh, this is what the dark night of the soul is in terms of the spiritual journey. You cocoon, like you need to cocoon a little bit so you can spread your wings after that and turn into a unicorn.
Yeah. And that what you're it's almost like death and rebirth. When you feel like my favorite phrase is what a caterpillar thinks is the end, the butterfly knows it's the beginning. And that's
Oh yeah,
the
caterpillar. Yeah, that's
right? It's
slimy thing.
like exactly, and this is like the death and rebirth. What a caterpillar thinks this is the death, this is the end, a butterfly knows this is the beginning, this is rebirth. And when I was talking earlier about, sometimes you're watching movies that, normally you were never emotional about, and something you hear that you've heard many times, but you finally actually hear it because now you are in a different level of consciousness. Remember watching The Mummy, right? And it's like, why would you cry over The Mummy? When I can't remember his name, but the guy that was turned into the mummy, he said, "Death is only the beginning," and to me, that was like it was an aha moment that helped me to have more realizations and understand about the importance of letting go of my old self, of my previous identity, and not holding on to it so tightly. And I began to recognize that as I began my awakening, I was looking back at my past and trying to be someone that I was in this part of my life or that part of my life, holding on to my old identities and trying to bring them into the now. But we cannot do that. We're meant to see um, who we are today and who we want to be going forward, and learn and shed all those different parts of ourselves. And part of the shedding, part of letting go is grieving the loss of the previous version of ourselves, or the old identity or identities of ourselves, and grieving that loss because we can never be that person again. Even no matter how much we look back, um, whether we were, no matter what age we were, whether we were really young or as a teenager or as a, 20s or 30s or whatever it is, and you're looking back and you're thinking, I want to be that way. This was the best part of my life. And you're trying to do everything you can to be that person now. It's not possible. You've been there, you've done that. And then the interesting fact about memories is that what we believe and remember to be true, it is often not true. So our memories, they rewrite themselves, and this is actually why we sleep as well. So our memories can rewrite themselves in the way that fits into our current identity. And that means that you get to change that identity, that self. And it's important to grieve the loss of the previous versions of you, because if you don't grieve, you are grieve is unhealed anxiety, which means that you're gonna become anxious because you're living in the past, even though consciously you don't think you are, but subconsciously you are living in the past. Been there, done that. Speak from experience. Living in the past, and living in the past that is negative, and it becomes because there's I'm holding on to it. I'm not allowing myself to heal and grieve and let go. So holding on to it, and when you're holding on to that trauma in the past, it becomes practically impossible to see the positive possible future. And this is what anxiety is. It's you living in the past and trying to create some kind of a vision of a future that is rooted in your past instead of getting your shit together, right? Instead of working through the things that are holding you hostage, healing them. And this is actually one of the biggest reasons why we even created imposter banishing quest, because it helps you to go deep within, understand your basic default program, rewrite it, and come out on the other side after letting go and grieving quite a few versions of yourself, feeling renewed and refreshed and ready to continue this process of becoming a better version of yourself, and then grieving, letting go of your old identities. And then you were also talking about, I think you mentioned be stillness and being quiet and having essentially a safe space for yourself to do this kind of work. One thing I want to mention that's important in here is we're drawing yourself from the noise. That means social media. That means uh, the shows and things that you watch. Unfortunately for us, it might be even listening to our podcast for a little bit. But it's important to take yourself, isolate yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally so you can really get to know yourself. Because otherwise, you will continue to hear and be bombarded with opinions of the outside world. That is, everyone is, I mean, we're giving you our opinions as well. Everyone is full of opinions. Your friends, your partners, your co-workers, stranger that you just met as well, your parents, your family members, everyone is full of opinions. And they're going to tell you what they think is best for you, but only you know what's best for you. So it's important to spend time, if you can, every single day being by yourself with yourself in silence and stillness and solitude, and allow yourself to become one with stillness, become one with nature, and get some clarity in that moment. That might also even mean journaling. That's how you can practice stillness. Stillness does not mean you sit like this. Doesn't necessarily mean, right? Even though our mind's like, Yana, I can sit still. I like to fidget, like to move around. That's not what necessarily stillness is. It can be, but that's not what it is. It's even you meditating, whether it's guided meditation or just paying attention to your breath, silent meditation, journaling, walking in nature. It just letting yourself just be by yourself and not do. And then you talked about all of the emotions. Each and every emotion you have is reminding you that you're alive and reminding you what love is, because you forgot, right? And that grief is really trying to remind you what love is, what love was, and what love is and can be. That is just like that caterpillar transforming into a butterfly. It is different. We all have lost someone that we care about, whether it's a human being or a pet. And and of course those moments, it's challenging to even see beauty in that moment, but there is beauty because it's also love in the midst of transformation. It's love transforming itself into a butterfly without that person, without that pet. That now you're going to redefine what love means and feels and sounds like and tastes like and smells like to you, right? Because we have all of our senses for a reason, and we're meant to be using them. And when we're talking about, when you're asking a question answered, really what we're talking about is that look and become aware of the lesson that you are being taught and not escape it. And I'm gonna talk for a moment about escape because I know how important it is, and I know I've been there myself, and I know some of you have been there or are there, and that you're using different forms of escape. And there are different forms of escapes, right? It's not just um the drugs or the alcohol, it's even watching things, it's even just even exercise itself can be a form of escape. So escape itself is what we think and we see it as a solution, but it is a temporary solution, it is a temporary fix that does not get to the root cause. Often we can find ourselves, instead of asking, why is this happening to me? We can shift to, what is this trying to teach me? This experience is leading you towards deeper truth about yourself. And too often we want to escape that, mostly to our fears, due to our fears, whether it's a fear of unknown, fear of success, fear of failure. It's still fear of change, essentially, is what we're trying to escape by not allowing ourselves to learn the lesson and answer those questions. So it's time to slow down on escaping, because I know some of us can be really good at becoming escape artists in some ways, where we're just escaping everything and escaping reality as much as we can. Even one of the escapes for me, was, some of you might not even recognize that as an escape, but it is an escape, is naps. Taking naps, because it was my escape of reality. Going into the dream realm, and it was funner, it was better, it was different, and I got to escape reality because I couldn't stand it. Whereas on the outside, everybody would look at my life and be like, what are you depressed about? You got everything everybody wants. You have everything I want, and yet you're not happy? Essentially, how dare you not be happy? You're supposed to be grateful. Be grateful. That's not how this works. Um, Getting to be on the other side, yes, I can and I do experience gratitude, but there's still going to be times when the spirit continues to awaken and I tap into a different part of my dark night of the soul and different level of spiritual awakening, because it's a never-ending journey. Initially, in the beginning, it was every single day. Now it's, I mean, I can't predict it, but it's almost like seasonally. In the wintertime, I go through a spiritual awakening, and that just means I grow and evolve and become someone different. In the springtime, in summertime around there as well. It's almost like 4 times a year. I mean, that's a great deal, right? Sometimes some years it's less, right? Some years it's more, but with each year it's a little bit less, a little bit less, a little bit less. And this is where I get to know myself more and more and more, and then choose the parts that I want to change. Um, What else? I think that's pretty much it. It's the hardest part is going to be just trusting and reminding yourself that this is temporary. It's going to pass. Even though when you're there in the trenches, it might feel like it's never going to end. This is how it is. That's it. But that is just the darkest part of your mind telling you those things, and it's lying to you. So it is your job as the consciousness that you are, because you're a big part of the consciousness of the whole entire consciousness of the existence, and you as a soul to remind yourself that this too shall pass. This is temporary. This is not permanent. And and if you are familiar with the seven levels of energy, understand where you are, what level of energy you are, meet yourself there, learn from it, and then identify where would you much rather be. And by simply identifying, you already have begun the shift. And this is where the internal struggle often happens for women because they don't really want to shift. They don't really want to change. They're scared of what shifting from level 1 to level 5 would be like because part of them is still telling them that you don't deserve it. You must suffer more. You haven't suffered enough. So suffer, suffer, suffer. And when you've suffered enough, then you find a way to shift and love your life just a little bit more. Um, yeah, I think that's pretty much it that we can cover on this topic of the dark night of the soul and what it is and what to do about it. And then, I mean, we talked about the dark part of it, but the light part of it is on the other side is your true authentic self, you living in alignment, you being intuition and not trying to be intuitive, you knowing without you trying to know things, you living in your purpose, feeling fulfilled, speaking your truth and not hiding from it, um, being comfortable in your true authentic self, being adventurous, experiencing life, the good, the bad, and the ugly, having fun with everything and anything. Um, yeah, I think that's pretty much just a bird's eye view that covers up where you're gonna be. Freedom is a perfect word to identify where you will find yourself on the other side. Just hold on tight to those reins of the horse that you're riding because it can get bumpy sometimes. So, what else would you add, Anna, as we're now at the end of our podcast today, we're wrapping things up?
The way I would wrap it up is that this is not a punishment and it's not meant to last forever. It's a stepping stone and it actually you stepping into your full unicorn power. So embrace it and reach out. We're here for you. And we're actually curious to hear what's one step you can take today. Like if you are going through this right now, through a dark night of the soul experience, like, what's something that you commit to doing of everything we shared so far, to continue the process and get on the other side.
Yeah, that's a great question to end with. And then those of you who have been through or and continue to go through the dark night of the soul, the spiritual awakening, what has helped you to work through it, to heal through it, to navigate through it? Not avoid it, not walk around it, but through it. What helps you to walk through that dark, scary forest of the darkest, deepest parts of yourself that you have put away, hoping to see never. Right? It's like the things that You swept under the rug, and you now swept so much that you cannot, you keep tripping over that pile of dirt and dust that you swept under the rug that you didn't want to deal with, and now you keep tripping over it. Another vivid description.
Yeah. Sweeping under the rug is an escape form.
Yes.
It's like let me put it here. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to deal with it. Why? Not today. Because why? Because I don't feel like it. But the thing is, that becomes a habit. So you'll never feel like it and you'll never deal with it. And once again, I speak from experience. I put it away and I ignored it and avoided it until I could no longer avoid it, until it was affecting my family. Um, and the last thing I want to share with you all and leave you is those people that are around us, that are closest to us, they see. They see us, they understand us, they see what we're going through, and it's hard for them to watch us go through a difficult time because they want to take all that pain and suffering away from us, but unconsciously they know they can't. So there was one morning when I woke up and I came downstairs and my husband said to me that I that I'm a different person. What did you do? Because I thought I was going to be living with a sick person for the rest of my life. And it was scary for him, right? That he was going to be responsible for the sick me that that couldn't even get dressed and walk out the door because I just completely wanted to isolate myself from the world. And when he said that, it helped me to really like take a step back and see how much I have grown, because I couldn't even see that growth myself. Um, because the habit became focusing on the negative, and you have people in your life who are pointing out to you that you're going back into the darkness, or that you how much you have grown and how amazing of a woman you are becoming, and that they're surprised and they want your secrets because they also understand that they themselves have shit to work on. We all do. Every single human being has baggage. That's what we're talking about here is now you got that baggage, you got to work through that baggage. That's the dark night of the soul. That's the shadow work. Work through your baggage. Other than that, that's all that we wanted to share with each and every one of you. Thank you, everybody who was on here live with us. I see Kimberly was on here live with us, and that she's not going to be taking a nap tomorrow since we talked about naps. Uh, Great to hear. Thank you for sharing that. And so thank you, Kimberly. Thank you, everybody who's going to be watching or is watching us on the replay now. Welcome to all the brand new members and all the uh, OG members as well. Hello and welcome. Hope you have an amazing the rest of your day. And thank you, Anna, for being on here and sharing all of your knowledge and wisdom and doing a little bit of research as to where did this even come from, this phrase, right?
Yeah, right? I'm like,
Yeah,
oh, so interesting.
it is interesting.
Pleasure as always.
So thank you, everybody. We'll see each other next week at 1:45 p.m. Eastern Time, back here in this Facebook group, Heal the Unicorn: Emotional Healing and Spiritual Growth for Women, where we'll go live on another amazing topic that is called the role of curiosity in spiritual exploration. That one is going to be a fun one. And until we see each other next time, then, have an amazing the rest of your day and week. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Anna, again. Bye.